What's up everyone, thank you so very much for clicking on this video. My name is Lou and today we're going to be reviewing chapters 657 to 666 of Hajime no Ippo. Really quick before we begin, I'm just going to throw it out there, always has to be said, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, please just click out now, maybe leave a like or even a comment before you go. Hell, maybe you can come back and watch the video and critique whatever I said or whatever I missed. In any case, with that out of the way, let's just dive in and get right into the chapter. So we actually begin this chapter where we left off, actually not really where we left off, because previously after Ippo successfully defended his title for the 7th time, it was announced by Kamogawa their plans to move away from the Japanese title and go into the OBPF. Ippo is super excited. He's actually in a state of shock because, you know, for him it's like, this is actually happening. Actually challenging Miyata, you know, his biggest rival, his idol. Because the next day, Ippo's going to the gym to actually ask one of the fellas at the gym if they want to join for Miyata's match. It was stated that Miyata's match was going to take place 2 days after his own, so he's looking for somebody to go with him, somebody who's a boxer that he can really relay this stuff to, kind of geek out, if that makes sense. In any case, all the guys turn him down because they have their own matches coming up. Takamura is going to be defending his middleweight championship. Aoki and Kimura have rematches against, I'm going to butcher their names, I hope I'm saying these right, Elect Battery and Papaya. I hope I'm saying those right. I'm butchering their names. I'm going to have it up here for everybody so you know who I'm talking about. Itagaki refuses as well. I don't know what his plans were. Itagaki's still injured anyway, but that's beside the point. Well, Aoki takes it upon himself to actually call Kumi up and invite her to the match with Ippo. And Ippo it's kind of weird because, you know, he is excited, but he's also like, I really didn't want to go there with her because then it'll be a date as opposed to, you know, he wants to play commentary with somebody, like, you know, bounce off some ideas with whoever he goes with. So Ippo's waiting at the event and Kumi shows up ready to, you know, have this date, so to speak. She thinks it's a date, at least I think she thinks that way. Maybe I'm wrong. But they're interrupted by Ryo, who shows up to kind of cockblock Ippo and Kumi for some reason. I don't know why he's so obsessed with who his sister's with. I mean, Ippo, you could do worse than Ippo, but that's besides me. Ippo's of the mind that this is going to be a sweep. It's going to be an easy match because it's the number 6 ranked fighter in the OBPF. He's some Korean fighter. Like I said, I'm gonna have his name up here. I'm not gonna butcher his name. I don't want any Korean watchers out there to like come for me. Look, I'm sorry. I just want to have it up there, show as much respect as possible. Ryo points out that it's not really set in stone and there's no sure things in boxing, which is interesting because it kind of relates back to his fight with Ippo. Because if I think back, Ippo was a dark horse and not really slated to win their fight because how dominant Ryo was in that Rookie King tournament. But, you know, like you said, there's no such thing as a sure thing in fighting. The match begins, and of course, I didn't even expect it. I should have expected it. There's been like a lot of dirty boxing in this last like few chapters, or last, you know, 100 or so chapters I've been reading. And just like clockwork, the Korean fighter, he starts off with a feint glove touch. I talked about last chapter about guys, you know, feinting the glove touch to attack their opponent when they go and reach. And this guy did the same thing. He immediately just goes in. And Ryo points out like how naive and how much of a spoiled brat that is to assume that your opponent's going to have that kind of respect for you, especially in the higher professional rankings. And he's not wrong because even in the amateurs, you got guys who will do that for some reason. It's not even they just want that win. They don't care about like honor. So, you know, honestly, I just think it's disrespectful. But I'll leave it be. In any case, this fighter takes this as an opportunity to continuously foul, and he's throwing elbows, he's throwing headbutts, and like he's just trying anything he can to like get Miyata to stop, like, you know, get on Miyata and like pressure into him and take the fight like away from him. He even steps on his foot at one point, and if you take yourselves back to the fight with Ryo, he actually suffered an injury because of that last time, because of Ryo stepping on his foot as he was trying to move away. One of those headbutts do get through, and it causes Miyata some damage. Miyata's in the same like realm as Itagaki, like super fast, very technical, great footwork, but can't take a lot of damage. So for him, it's you know, it does a lot more than just like, oh, a simple headbutt, because Ippo gets headbutted all the time, or he runs into people. It's crazy. This Korean fighter takes an opportunity to you know, finish the fight, but he gets countered. Something weird about this counter though, because no one saw the counter, but it hit him and he was down. He just immediately hit the mat, and Miyata walks off into the neutral corner to wait out, you know, to recover. we actually get confirmation that that counter was thrown purely off of reflex, and which is incredible to me. Like, he just threw a counter like off of his reflex. I'm not sure how many of you guys are boxing fans out there, but there are instances where your reflexes take over and you do things that you didn't expect to do or you weren't even like conscious of. Kind of like a ultra instinct, you know? In any case, the Korean fighter doesn't make the 10 count and he's back on his feet. And this is where the match completely just turns one-sided and he is getting just pummeled. The rest of this first round is just this Korean fighter getting just his ass whooped, like bad. Like, it's not even a fight anymore. This guy's moving in slow motion and he's throwing mad combos on this dude. Like, I'm talking like 6-piece combinations at a time and then moving offline. He just can't keep up with Miyata. The first round ends Miyata's favor. It's completely just one side. This guy's having the worst day possible. Now, mind you, he is a cheating bastard, so whatever. Completely skip over the second round. In fact, we catch the tail end of the second round, and from what we understand is it's Miyata's show. Miyata just beating this dude for 2 rounds straight. It's just disgusting. And even the audience is like, damn, this is just terrible. And of course, he just kept doing counter after counter after counter, combos and counters. That's all this guy's doing, just countering every technique this Korean fighter's got, and he's just pummeling him with the combinations. And like, I mean, I understand why I skipped over the second round, because there's no point. It's just more of the same. Miyata's dad tells him, look, you just got to finish this. There's no reason to play with your food anymore. And of course, Miyata's in agreement, but he's feeling a little off. He's like, hey, if you looked in the stands, and his dad looks up into the stands and he sees Mr. Sakaguchi, who's this little trainer, this little manager. He was a manager of a previous boxer. I'm gonna forget the guy's name. He was like Australian or whatever. Some blonde dude who was a previous OBPF champion, the one that Miyata took the belt from. He's waiting up in the stands, but they're not so much concerned about him as opposed to the guy that's sitting next to him. And for Miyata, he's like, hey, does that guy look familiar? Does he look familiar to you? And his dad says, no, I don't know who that guy is, and never met him in life, whatever. You can't be worried about that guy. You gotta focus on the match. He's so consumed by who this guy is that he gets caught slipping. And the Korean fighter, I think his name is Che, sorry, he catches him with a mean stiff jab. And it's like, eats his whole eye away. This is enough to turn the match into this Korean fighter's favor. And after this point, Miyata just can't focus up. Like, he just got caught, and like, all of a sudden he's on wobbly legs. Because like I said, he's a glass cannon. He can't take as many like punishing blows. And it's actually stated this guy has a lot in common with Ippo, because he's a pressure fighter. He's you know, I'm gonna stay right here and just like bum rush you and just take you out from the inside. So he's actually, you know, fighting at Ippo standing, trying to get himself ready for his match with Ippo. So yeah, Miyata is actually getting his ass whooped. Like, it's a complete flip of what happened before, where he was beating this dude down. This dude is just, oof, he's beating the shit out of Miyata. And at a certain point, Miyata tries for one of his counters, but it fails. Like, this guy beats him to the punch and his counter just falls flat, which it's shocking to everybody. Everybody's like, whoa, wait, hold on. Miyata counter didn't work? And this is kind of weird for me too, because I've only known him as a counter fighter, so like for him to fail at countering, it's a big deal, like a big freaking deal. Eventually, the accumulation of damage causes Miyata to have another cut on his face. We don't know where. I guess it's over his eye. I don't really know what's going on. It's kind of like just a bloody mess up there. You'll see it on the picture. He's just covered in blood. I'm not sure if it's like Ippo's, or one of his eyes is bleeding or whatever. But they bring the doc in to check to see if they can close the wound or if he can actually continue the match. In my last video, I talked about this. He's always this close to fighting Ippo, and something comes up. But anyway, the ref and the doctor are in agreement. Like, hey man, I don't know if he can really continue this. And Miyata, just being as stubborn as he can be, he says, hey, why are you in my way? He pushes them both to the side and just goes back to fighting this dude. Eventually, Miyata does get another counter off, but for some reason or another, it doesn't have the same effect it did initially in the beginning of the fight, or any other time he was fighting, or any other rounds he was fighting. So it's actually a shock, and everybody's like, whoa, his counter didn't work. And then the Korean fighter just goes back to pummeling him. He has no options. His speed is gone, his footwork's gone, his counters are failing, and he just decides to stand his ground and just fight this dude. So he decides, nah, you know what? We're just gonna brawl. They square up in the center of the ring, and they're just throwing hands like they are beating they're beating the shit out of each other to the point where I'm just like, damn, is this an Ippo fight right now? In the way, like in the manga at least, in anime, there's a bunch of fights where these guys are just beating the shit out of each other. But this one is a little different because like it's Miyata, and like they're really not, they don't even think about blocking anymore. They're just taking blows back and forth, back and forth. Eventually Miyata, he decides to get his shit together, and he just, look, Miyata unloads on this dude, like I want to say like 25 punches, and like just beats him into submission, beats this man to the ground, and like the man's on a knee and Miyata still clocks him. Like he's, oh man, I don't know what the rules are in Japan or any other country, but like, isn't that technically a disqualification if you knock somebody like down, like knock them out if they're on the one knee? In any case, he floors this dude. And he's just like boom, and the ref steps in to stop it and calls the match. Miyata won, but doesn't feel good about it because to him he didn't perform the standard, which is fair because this wasn't Miyata at all. Like him being a brawler, no, his counters falling apart, no, like this isn't him. Like if you've been watching the anime or if you've read the manga, you know he's not that type of guy. Like he is stubborn as hell, but he's never been the type of fighter to just be like fall into the trappings of other fighters, if that makes sense. Find out Miyata has to postpone his match with Ippo. I freaking knew this was going to happen. They had to postpone the match until like summer, I believe, because Miyata actually suffered maybe two broken hands, broken fists, which is fair because his dad actually points out that's why his counter stopped working, because his fists were broken. Which is weird to me because how the hell did he beat the shit out of this dude, like defeat him? Because he wasn't throwing like volume punches, he was slugging him. Like these are heavy blows. And I'm just like, how is he, you know what, maybe the pain, his hands became numb, whatever. I don't know if you ever suffered a bruised knuckle or something. You can't even tap something because it's whatever, Lou, just move on. And Miyata, he's feeling some type of way. His dad's like, look, we're not going to cancel the fight, we're just going to postpone it. So it's not canceled just yet, but I feel that there's still something that's going to come up, especially with this weird guy. Miyata actually leaves the locker room. I don't know why. I guess he just goes out to maybe go use the bathroom or just get some fresh air. And he actually runs into this mysterious fighter that Mr. Sakaguchi had with him. I don't know. This dude he has a cool design. He kind of looks he looks like Brock from Pokemon. You know, the closed eyes and the shaggier hair. And this guy says, hey, it's destiny that we're meeting, and it's gonna be destiny when we fight. And they have like a little skirmish, like nothing. Well, it's kind of serious. They're actually throwing hands, and Miyata, for some reason, decides to stow punches when his hands are broken. Whatever. This guy pins Miyata against the wall and says, "Yeah, you see, it's destiny. Eventually, we're gonna fight." And they get broken up by Miyata Senior, who says, "Hey, you gotta get out of here, whatever." And the guy just walks off. So he seems to recognize this guy, but he doesn't know where from or what the deal is, and it's really bothering him. It's bothering me too, because I'm like, who the hell is this dude? Like, why is he so important? And how is he gonna like mess up the fight between Ippo and Miyata? I swear, if this fight gets messed up, I'm gonna be super pissed. And there's no excuse why this fight shouldn't happen. It should have happened years ago, but that's beside the point. In the chapter with Ippo going back to the gym the next day, excited, and the coach telling him, hey, I got some news about the Miyata fight. We're gonna have to postpone it. Okay, so I'm just gonna be real with you. I'm not a Miyata fan, but this was probably the best series of chapters he's been in, at least for me. I'm still a big fan of Ippo, Sendo, Mashiba, and even Sawamura. But like, you know, he's starting to go up there. He's starting to look a little better to me, especially with that brawl at the end, because I mean, it was impressive. And of course, you're gonna see all the images on screen, but it was really impressive how he just stood his ground. Thank you so very much for clicking on this video and watching to the very end. I greatly appreciate it. And if you would do me the favor as to leaving a like, maybe even a comment, and possibly even subscribing, hopefully I can see you in the next video where I'll be reviewing 667 and onward. So much again, and until next time, take care. Peace.